Welcome and thank you for coming out on a warm night. The evening is going to be split in a couple of ways to try and be most informative. First of all, those in the room who don't know me, my name is John Borsicelli. I have the honor and privilege of being mayor of this municipality and serving in the state legislature. I noticed Councilman Kidd walking in. Council President Larry Haynes is here. Expecting members of the governing body to make their way in as the evening goes on. Marlon Peterson, who works for the Gloucester County Improvement Authority, and with the group that is designing this port and this project, is going to give us an overview slide presentation. It should run about 30 minutes, give or take. We're not going to do questions as a group. We're going to break from the slide presentation around to the stations in the room, which are more detailed than the slides we're going to present. There will be people at the various stations to answer detailed questions in any area you have, myself included. I recognize Jeff Allen has made his way into it. Hello, Jeff. So we're going to get right to it. And I'll just give you a bit of an overview. This project is as important as a project can possibly be to not only this town but the region. We all know the economy is presently struggling. And that's when you build these kind of projects for two reasons. One, because of the jobs it creates in the process of building it and how that helps families out. That's a big deal. And the second point is that by the time this port is built, we expect the economy to be back. Because if it's not back, we really got a problem. Timetable, Marlon will give you an idea of timetable, schedule, where we think we are, where we're going, when we're going to talk about some groundbreaking opportunities, which are going to come soon, and details associated with what it's going to look like and how it's going to fit into the neighborhood. So I bring all of you a welcome. Senator Steve Sweeney, Freeholder Director Steve Sweeney, who has been a big proponent of this project as we could possibly have as a partner. Will be joining in. He's at a meeting taking place now. He'll be with us as the evening goes on to be available to mingle as we go on. I want to recognize Joe Balzano, who is the Director of South Jersey Port Corporation. Welcome, Joe, to Paulsboro. This would not have happened had Joe not said, yeah, we'll build a port there, going back some time ago. A number of his staff are here as well. And Bobby Danko, a Paulsboro resident who serves on the board of South Jersey Port Corporation. We have a number of people with the South Jersey Port Corporation who are here. For those who don't remember how this is going to work, the Gloucester County Improvement Authority with the port is going to build this port. South Jersey Port Corporation is going to operate it. The ground is owned by the people of Paulsboro because of the generosity and arrangements worked out with BP and the less than generosity and goodwill that Dow shows in not keeping the word. That's another story. But that's how the ground was assembled. Let's get right to the details because that's what you like to hear. In fact, we want to hear as well. So I'm going to present Marlon Peterson. Marlon has an extensive background in port design and operation. Brought to this project was in the Middle East as not designing the port. Was brought back by the South Jersey Port Corp to quarterback the design of this project. We're going to pass it to him. No questions through the presentation. Then we're going to break up afterwards into small groups. Please welcome Marlon Peterson. Marlon.
If I can use this. And we will use it. Welcome. This is a follow-on to an event that we conducted also at the end of September 2008. We've got approximately 40 slides to move through. One quarter of those slides will give you some rationale as to why a port, particularly in Paulsboro. Another 25% will talk about elements in and around the port itself. And then the last 50% will focus on the port or the marine terminal component specifically, as well as the access road and bridge. You will hear us talk about a number of different terminologies. There's three keys to it. One is the Port of Paulsboro, and the port itself consists of two, a marine terminal and an access road and bridge. You need both the marine terminal, which has the waterside access, but then you also need the landside access. In order to pull a project like that together, you need the team that you see up on the wall behind you. Ultimately, that's the land, as you mentioned, from the borough. You need the county, which provides the funding support through the DOT and other state agencies, and then ultimately you need the South Jersey Port Corporation, or if you would, a funding agency, and more importantly, an operator to dictate, as you would, just like your house, what's it going to be, what's it going to be configured for, and more importantly, how you're going to use it for the next 20 to 90 years. But that's not quite all, because it's just like in your house, you've got utilities that service that house. And as part of that housing program, you need to accommodate those utilities, be it sewer, water, electrical, etc. There's a range of entities required in order to pull that project together. This is a partial listing of that. In this particular case of a marine terminal, it also includes development in and about the Delaware River and Mantua Creek. And for those of you who happen to read the newspapers, you would understand that the Delaware River, the deepening program, etc. Whenever you get into the river, you have to incorporate federal agencies such as the Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Coast Guard, National Marine Fisheries Service, but you also need state agencies, again, the DOT and the New Jersey DEP. So all of those cast of characters are involved. This group knows better than anyone else in the state of New Jersey the Port of Paulsboro. Approximately 200 acres, located at river mile 90, if you would, from the open ocean. What is it that we're doing? One of the very important items that you have to identify is what is the purpose of your project. In this case, it has really, again, two key elements. It's to construct and to operate. So it's not something where you construct, you hand it off, and nobody, and then you're looking for a third party to come in. In this case, it's design it, construct it, and operate it. Ultimately, though, it's not just a sailboat or a location to park a ship. You need to design it, you need to build it in a way that the commodities move cost effectively from that ship across the wharf into the terminal, create the jobs inside the terminal, and then move to its ultimate destination. You're only going to handle the commodity here in Paulsboro. The source of the commodities you're building for are 6,000 to 10,000 people. You want to build a facility that can hold commodities to service the region, as well as the broader state and beyond. So the port is a continuous conduit. Mr. Balzano, I think, affectionately calls it as the international highway. It's no different. It provides the systematic connectivity to all the other international destinations, whether you want to call them Asia, South America, or the Middle East. But other than just the project purpose, you also have to have a series of goals. And this is what the project team has established as those goals. I don't want to go through those in detail because I think you're here more to understand what the project is. So for example, that's up on the slide behind you. When we go to the board, you can go look at them. But at the end of the day, it's to accommodate increased throughput of international cargoes, some of which are on the table over here that we can talk about in a little bit. It's also, in handling those cargoes, which generate economic development, is the creation of family-sustaining jobs. The Northeast used to be very powerful in jobs. The only problem is, back in the 40s and 50s, we also built the interstate highway system. Many of our jobs went down south, many of the jobs went to the Midwest. Those jobs then subsequently moved on from those places as their economies became non-cost effective. The job of the Paulsboro Marine Terminal is to bring back the facility, the geographic capacity to attract the cargo, then value add or do a processing to it, and then move it on either back out to an international market or back further into the U.S. market. But by creating those jobs through efficient transportation or handling services, you bring those jobs back that we used to see. Not the same jobs, but similar family-sustaining jobs.